Welcome to everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Obviously, my name is Daniel, and today I'm joined with Tom and Michele from the Muro Group, Michele Romano. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a good talk through and talk about the whole process of moving to cloud, the benefits that it's brought the group, the benefits that it's brought their team, and just some of the things that you would need to consider and or look at before making that type of transition. And then we'll also talk a little bit about how the Muro Group can also help in making the transition and just some of the key technology considerations to put into place when making those decisions when it comes to moving to moving your practice to a cloud-based environment. Now, what we'll do is that during the session, you can ask for questions. More than happy to answer any of those. There will be a presentation which we're working through, and we're happy to make that available as we go forward and at the end of the presentation. But what we're going to do is we're just going to share my screen now, and I'm going to have that come on board now. And what you should see now is a screen that comes up to say what to look for when making tech decisions with Muro. Can you see that, Michele?
Yeah, looks good. Looks good.
Oh, good. And look, one of the things that I suppose I'd like to really talk about is just before we start, I just want to have a bit of a chat about the Muro Group and how we cross paths and just a little bit about the story. And with Muro Group, I met them around about 2015. It was one of those moments which I think in my time and my career at BGL, I'll never forget, where we went into the office, and I think we spent about nearly 3/4 of the whole time together, and as part of the demonstration talking more about Italy and food and coffee and everything else than we actually did software. And at the end of it, the guys made a decision to move across to Simple Fund 360, and not only have the Muro Group become very good friends of me personally, but they've become huge supporters of BGL. And one of the great things that I really like about the Muro Group is that they have, made some great achievements. They've made some great progress. And this is an organization that just doesn't talk about what they've done, or they just don't talk about how to better an accounting firm. They've actually achieved a lot in their own right. And they've won many awards. They've been highly recommended for a number of awards, and there's a reason for that. And within this practice, I can assure you, are quality people who care about their clients. And I very much looked at the way that they go about what they do, and the way that they present, and the way that they engage. And as far as as I'm concerned, it's a really strong model that all the accountants listening in today can really learn from and take stuff away from. And I believe that they set a great example as to what an accounting practice should look like from both a business advisory, a business services, a compliance, and an engagement perspective. And what we're going to do is I'm actually going to get Michele to talk a little bit about the Muro Group. And one of the great privileges I have is not only to introduce him, but also just to put before you someone that has actually achieved and developed a great accounting firm. And nothing, motivates me or excites me more than being able to put in front of clients people who have actually gone ahead and created something what I call fantastic. And Michele, if you could just share your journey and a little bit about you, that would be a great start.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Daniel, and thanks for the kind words. Look, it's for us. I think relationships are probably more important than anything else in the world, and it's probably been the reason to our success. I would like to say that I suppose our firm, we're a traditional firm that value obviously all our business and client relationships, and we actually care, but we've actually adapted to the fast pace with technology, and obviously we'll go through that today. But for those listening here today, the accounting practice has been in operation now for about 15 odd years, a two-partner firm, and we've got offices between Brisbane, Gold Coast, and some satellites in Sydney and Melbourne. We've pushed the business pretty hard. We're in another growth phase at the moment. During this COVID period, we stepped it up again, and I think we took the game to the next level. We've actually just been recruiting a few more people to join the team. So it's a crazy time. I know everyone's suffering, everyone's going through different things and dealing with it different ways. But I think, yeah, I just want to say again, thank you, Daniel, for inviting us on today to give us, for us to give an insight into our world, what we do, and how obviously BGL has been there and backed us from day one. I'll start by saying that probably on the journey, and if I go back, it was more like probably around about 12 years ago that I actually went out to a seminar, and it was all about cloud. And it was interesting because I came back to the office and I said to my business partner, Kanya, I said, listen, there's this new thing coming called the cloud, and it's going to basically change the way we do things. And so from that point, I think it was just one of those things that we thought, straight away, we have to change the environment here. We have to get on this cloud and write it. Otherwise, we're going to get left behind. So it took us probably a fair chunk to get there. And probably reason being is that we were one of the probably biggest Handysoft users in Queensland. And we were always pushing the bandwagon with them as well to go into the cloud environment. And of course, we were using server-based systems. Tom can attest to that. Obviously he was pulling his hair out trying to make it function the best it could. But I think where we went from there was working through Handysoft and realizing that it wasn't going to give us everything that we wanted from a system. And I suppose efficiencies are very important when you're trying to move at a fast pace. So we started the journey, and like Daniel said in the intro there, yes, we were using BGL desktop. We were using the Superfund product, and it was purely by chance because we'd taken over a couple of practices and they were already using BGL at the time. Now, funnily enough, around about that time when Daniel came in, I remember talking to him about what other practices were doing at the time. And a lot of financial planners at the time were actually using the class product. And I said to Daniel, I said, look, I don't really like the class system. I mean, they're saying they can do this and do that, but it just, it felt like it was just too much for what we needed. And it just I didn't feel the right connection and the right relationship with the people. So yes, he flew to Brisbane. We had a coffee and a biscotti, and I think like 5 minutes later we'd signed up to Superfund 360 on the cloud. And of course at that time it was daunting because you're thinking in your mind, okay, well, as accountants we're really tight with our information and we don't want to just let it out into the open web and so forth. So we had to get over that hump, which I think we'll discuss. I think there's a couple of questions later on about going into the cloud and security. But look, we got over that, made that transition, and seriously haven't looked back. And I think it was an easy process, Daniel. I think at the time when you came, we had about 30 odd funds, between 30 to 40 super funds in desktop. And then when you signed us up with Superfund 360, I think since that time, which was around about 2015, 2016, we're sitting over about 150 odd funds now in the cloud. And obviously we couldn't have got there if we didn't have the technology and the know-how and obviously the brains trust with the BGL product behind us. So so that was interesting. The next probably phase of our world was that we got to a point then where BGL was performing and we're really happy with it, but our accounting system wasn't really working to its full potential. So I'd voiced my concerns with Handysoft, and again, look, all the products and programs out there, I mean, they all do what they can, but ultimately we wanted something that was going to be cloud-based. And at the time, Handysoft had a few options, but nothing that really excited us. So I started doing some beta testing with Handysoft, and it was probably about 3 months into the journey that I kind of realised that they were probably going the wrong way and not the way that we wanted to go. And all along, I suppose, the Xero journey and the fact that we're Xero Platinum partners, I mean, we jumped on that pretty quickly. And I think, to be honest, Tom was one of the first people to get me into Xero all those years ago. But I think we moved officially 3 years ago onto the cloud with Xero and XPM, or it's formerly known as Workflow Max. And that journey, which again we'll probably discuss further on today, but that journey was tricky to start with, given that obviously as accountants, we want to make sure that we've got the right information in the right places. And we got there eventually. It was a process that I learned a lot of about obviously the industry and how things work with tech. And I suppose, Daniel, it's one of those things that I think it comes back to relationships, right? Ultimately, if I'm an accountant and I'm going to help other accounting practices, transition their work life into a computer system, a cloud system, then I need to know what I'm doing, and I think that's what the biggest thing for me was. When you came into the office, I felt the relationship. I trusted your advices. You never steered me the wrong way. You always said that you'd get it done. And to be honest, yeah, like I said, I haven't looked back. I've got nothing but praise for BGL, and looking forward to doing more stuff with you guys. So I think that's pretty much from my.
Look, I want to jump in, right, and I think this is an important point, right, and one of the things that, and we'll come back to the whole theme of technology, Michele, but one of the things that that you mentioned before, and I think that listeners would be really interested in, is that you mentioned that during this time your business is growing, you're recruiting, and I've heard many accounting practices that are doing the same. Can you just give us a small insight as to just some of the stuff that you've done, not only for your clients, but then also for the community to give back? But then also, how does technology, especially cloud technology, allow you to easily onboard clients and take on clients with pretty much minimal incremental costs?
Well, that's yeah. I mean, there's a couple of points there out of those questions. What have we done to give back? Okay, let's start there. So when COVID hit back in February, March, obviously as accountants we were on the front foot there, and obviously talking to our business clients and trying to help them through. Now, at that point, there were a lot of people that put their head in the sand. A lot of people that sort of just said, look, I don't know what to do. Where do I go from here? And so they were looking for us to come up with answers. Now, there's a classic one that I always share, and it's one of my clients who operated down the Gold Coast in hospitality. And at the time, the same thing. A lot of people in hospitality were always all just jumping out, going, well, I'm going to have to close doors, and we've got restricted this, restricted that. And so we came up with solutions, and again, using platforms like Zoom and so forth to try and get to clients, one to many, that sort of thing. But we did a lot of webinars, a lot of information, a lot of processing, a lot of free time that we put out there to give back to clients in the community, and also, I suppose, interpretation of the government and how they were sort of rolling out the JobKeeper and the government loans and all that sort of stuff. So it was difficult. It was probably a busy 3-4 months. We didn't get much sleep. We were working long hours, but the rewards are there on the other side, because all these clients have rebounded out of these situations and are looking forward. So even if there was an onset of a second round of COVID here, especially in Queensland, I'm pretty confident that my clients are ready to take on the next step. So that hopefully answers that question.
Yeah.
As far as the tech side of it, again, having everything in the cloud gives you that efficiency. I mean, it's just a matter of being able to drag information into systems at a ready, at your fingertips. So again, when we're trying to advise clients, and I'll come back to the super fund, the BGL 360. When we're advising clients on their super portfolio, it's the same thing, that we've got the information at our fingertips. We're not waiting to the end of the 12-month period and trying to get the data and trying to suck it into the system and trying to make heads and tails of it. So yeah, it's important to have information at your fingertips to be able to just jump when you need to.
Yeah. Fantastic. What we've got on the screen at the moment is just some of your achievements and some other information there. And we've spoken a little bit about your tech stack. And we know that you're an avid user of Xero, CAS 360, Simple Fund 360. But I just want to talk a little bit about your journey of migrating from desktop to cloud. And look, one of the things that I know, and we'll ask a number of questions around this, Michele, and also Tom, is that we know that a lot of people who are listening and a lot of people who are obviously going to have to make that step at some point, it can seem and it can feel like it's a really overwhelming task. and something that is beyond their reach. Now, one of the things I like to say to clients is it's never too late, because at day's end, there's never a perfect time to move, right? But one of the things that I'd like to now just go through in this whole migration process is just some of the things that you did as a team to not only make sure that you made the right decision, but then were able to benefit from it as quickly as possible. And what I'd like to push from this is the whole idea of, yes, if you are on desktop technology, you can make the move to cloud, you can get up and running, and you can do it quite effectively and quite efficiently with the right support and the right technology. And I suppose what I'd like to hear from you both is, insofar as your decision and design process, what did you go through there? Like, what are some of the things that you looked at that you thought were the key considerations in adopting the technology and then making the move across?
Okay. Well, there's a number of things that go into it, and obviously there's a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of coffee and and everything else that goes with it, right? It's not an easy process. Let's put that first and foremost to those listening, right? It is rewarding once you get to the other side. It is definitely, I can say that, and it is a lot more efficient on the other side.
I'd probably jump in there, Michele, and say that from a tech point of view, being a software engineer myself, and helping to push you down this path of cloud over the years, I would say that it is actually not that difficult a transition. It's a daunting transition, yes, I completely agree, but it's not a difficult transition in terms of the actual implementation and getting that job done. I think the things that we definitely considered during this decision design process were, considerations were given to cost and compliance. And I remember we sat down, however many years ago it was now, and we worked through, how much is this actually going to cost us? What's the cost benefit analysis of moving to cloud? How much savings are we going to have by not having equipment and servers running anymore? How much is it going to cost us per month to have each user have these subscriptions available to them, the cloud subscription, so that we can do that transition? I remember that we whiteboarded all that, and we came up with that plan, and that was sort of our stepping point to get that transition and ball rolling, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And it's interesting, Daniel, that point that you got there: let go of the past, create the future. I mean, I don't know about the accountants listening on today, but I don't live in today's world. I live in tomorrow's world, and it's probably an important thing to think about, because whatever's happened today, we've already gone. It's already finished. We can't deal with that. We need to think ahead, basically. So, putting all the numbers together as accountants. I think, Tom, from your perspective, yes, as a tech, in your world, it's obviously a simpler process, but as accountants dealing with, if we go back, showing age here, we're talking about, manual pieces of paper, ledgers and stuff, and then transitioning to computer systems and Excels, and then going into cloud, and then having like 3 million different programs operating at the same time. Oh, it does your head in. I 100% agree. But that the thing is, the future is here. We've all adapted. We've all got iPhones. We've all got probably iPads, and we've got the desktop computers and the tablets and laptops and things, and we can go on the beach and work. So, we're stuck with it. And if you don't change, then obviously you will get left behind. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that you probably got to take away from today's discussion. The process of it, fairly simple once you nut it out, making sure that all the boxes are ticked. The cost saving, I would say, is definitely there, because at the end of the day, when you're redoing servers every 5-6 years, and it's a cost of $20,000-$30,000, you've got to think about some of the wins in the space of the tech world as well. So again, stuff that we work through with Tom. I would encourage that if you're out there and you're thinking about this process, that partnering with someone in the tech space is very important. Obviously, we don't know everything in our accounting world. We know all about accounting, but we don't know about the tech space. So having Tom on board there was crucial for migration from the desktop to the cloud.
When it comes to the process of moving from desktop to cloud, well, we know that there is a price difference, and we know that there's quite a big increase in price, right? And people will look at that from the onset and say, well, that's not justified, right? Can you just explain how it actually is justified and just how much time it saved you and in what areas it's really saved you the time?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting, right? And it comes back to, I suppose, the workflow. Now, remember, accountants out there, we used to do work for clients, and you charge, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 based on a manual process. Now, all of a sudden, this cloud technology is here, and we're using programs like BGL and Xero and so forth, and it's bringing that time back, reducing it down. So, that average kind of file is actually going to be done at a lesser price. But you get efficiencies. You obviously pick up the savings that go with that, so you can actually do more. And ultimately, again, like I said at the start of the convo, is that we're bringing on more people because we're getting quicker at the workflow process, and we're getting more referrals and more recommendations. So having the efficiencies is there. I mean, I to be honest, don't even think about the cost of running the platform anymore, because I know it pays for itself. It's all about then making sure that your client process is done well and your efficiencies are done well. So again, those using Xero, about your data feed and so forth. BGL, same thing. So, going from the desktop version to the cloud version, obviously you've got the data feed and the bank feeds are seamless. They flow in, and you save time. And also you've got the data. The data's accurate. There's nothing you can't change it. The clients love the experience because they're integrated with it all the time, and I can pass that information on. So ultimately, and I think other accountants have talked about this in other convos. Our world has changed. Whether we like it or not, it's not just about compliance anymore. It's about advisory. It's about taking that next step and having the relationship with the client. BGL software will do the job, and it's then us as the accountants to take that job to the client and give them the full experience.
So what you're saying is that the cost really was very, very quickly absorbed, because, okay, so if I was to say to you, a fund that would traditionally take you 10 hours to complete and prepare for audit, what would it take you now to do?
Oh, easily slash it in half. So, if you couldn't get it done in 4 to 5 hours, there's something wrong.
And the thing is that you're still able to charge the same, but do it with less time input into the fund to get it to a point where you can get it audited and then lodge a tax return. But then you also mentioned something very interesting, Michele, is that the technology and the automation and then the data that it pushes out to you has also given you the opportunity to step into more business advisory. Correct. And allowed you to grow that part of your business also, because you've got the information at your fingertips, and data is far more readily accessible and available, and allows you to really get on the front foot and have better conversations with your clients, which your clients would be obviously happy to pay for, because they can be big differences between profits or revenues or avoiding problems, etc. Would you say that that's true?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Like having the information ready to go, it just makes sense, And again, you think back and you go, well, how did we operate many moons ago when we were waiting on data? I mean, there's nothing worse than waiting to the end of 30 June and then waiting another 12 months after that and then getting old information. I mean, it's irrelevant, and especially at the time when COVID hit. I mean, I know a lot of clients were talking to their advisors, financial planners, stockbrokers, and discussing, what do they do? Do they cash up? Do they do things with their funds? I mean, all those sorts of things, outside of our scope. But for us to be able to, as the accountant, have the information to give to the financial planners with the advice component, clients love that.
Yeah, just being able to be proactive rather than reactive to your clients. Yeah. I guess you also touched on a little bit about the equipment cost as well, that, we don't need these servers anymore. We don't need to upgrade these servers every 5 years. So there's an ongoing cost that we don't have anymore because of our transition to cloud. We can, and that's, obviously offset by the cost of the cloud product. So it's Tom, almost no-brainer in that regard. Yeah.
As a technology person, right? there's also often a lot of talk around security and stuff like that. Can you just give the clients just a little bit of insight as to really how much more robust and secure cloud-based technologies, like we run everything on AWS, with incredible security around our products, how much more robust technology on cloud is versus the traditional desktop?
It's night and day. I mean, from a traditional server setup sitting within your premises, you could have anything. You could have a fire in the premises. You could have somebody break in and cause damage. You think about the cloud. The cloud is AWS cloud. There are data centers and data servers all over the world in massive clusters, so that they have data redundancy. Backups are taken care of. It's absolute no-brainer. I remember hearing a story actually about one of the top executives within the AWS space, and they just to be able to visit a data center needed a certain level of clearance. Their own data centers, by the way, they needed a certain level of clearance, and they had to go through 10 to 12 different steps of clearance before they were actually granted access to the data center to be able to get access to these machines. So you can think about your traditional setup just sitting in your firm there. How many people can get access to the server room at any point in time? If the client could come in and walk straight into the server room, potentially. So for a cloud-based technology, it's the future. It's here. Not only that, the other things that it can give you is, we've already spoken about saving on equipment costs, but it's keeping you current and up to date. You don't need to pay to upgrade your server anymore. The servers that are sitting in that cloud are upgraded constantly upgraded to the latest technology. You're paying that subscription premium to ensure that you're on the cutting edge of technology, and that for me, is a no-brainer.
I'm just going to jump into that Pamela Banks just asked a question around how easy is it to get all the desktop data onto the cloud. And one of the things that we've done at BGL is that we make the process of migrating from our desktop products to cloud products really, really easy. And not only is it easy, it's really just a matter of clicking a button in Simple Fund Desktop. I mean, you've got to have the fund at lockup. Moving it across, it'll retain all your history, all your CGT reporting, it'll retain all your documentation, it'll retain everything that you've even set up. So if you've set up any data feeds, any data services on your desktop, it'll automatically migrate those across also for you. And same as CAS Desktop, if you migrate from CAS Desktop, it puts across all the documents and history and everything else. So pretty much everything that's on your desktop will automatically get migrated up for you. And
it's quite amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and look,
it actually was one of the easiest migrations of the tech stack that we did for Muro, actually. So yeah, sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, and look, I was just going to ask you before I move to the next slide, when it comes to making the decision, when it came to technology, Tom, like what are the key things that you look for that our accounting clients should be looking for?
It's a good question. I mean, for me, the biggest thing is you want to have an easy migration path, like you've just mentioned. So you want to be able to go from your current tech stack into the new tech stack easily and efficiently. You want to look at the implementation plan as well to say, when can we do this transition that is the least disruptive to the business as well. Other things you want to look at is, behind the scenes, where's the technology hosted? So, as you've said there, quite transparent with where the BGL products are actually provided from and how secure that is. And, I can attest to AWS's security, as I said, and just having the customer service and support there and the training and education available to get that transition done is important as well. You want to have someone there to back you up if you have any issue. And that's where, I guess, Michele in Muro, we're leaning on myself in Murotech to help them do that transition, as well as BGL client services.
And I can just to add to that, for those out there that are thinking, cloud is a dangerous world, well, ask yourself the question, how many people use internet banking? Because the minute you use internet banking, you're in the cloud. So, look, it's one of those things you get over it once you accept it and you move on.
Just a couple of things, we've got about 15 or so minutes remaining. Just a couple of things that when it comes to the whole migration to cloud. One of the things that I know that that you've touched on is some benefits that I think that maybe some users are not aware of. And when I look at the key differences, I love the whole idea of automation. I love the whole idea of having access to your data and real-time data, which then allows you to not only deliver a better service, but a more personalized and relevant service, right? And then also you got the whole thing of accessibility, which I think one of the things that COVID's really taught us is that if the people that didn't have cloud technology set up or weren't able to just literally pick up their computers and go home, they would have struggled to some extent during this time because it required, a reconfiguration of old models to try and make them current. And we know that with some of the old technology, that's literally impossible. But when it comes around, these key differences, do you want to just talk a little bit about these, Michele, and just how have you, and the one I want you to focus on is how has your client engagement and experience changed? So I'll give you a great example. Like in the past, everything, for example, with the ASIC perspective, you'd get the return from the ASIC, you print up the minutes, you would put in the directors and people's names, then you put them into an envelope, send them to the client, set up some calendar system to keep track of it, to make sure that the clients follow it up, to make sure that they get it, they pay for it, et cetera, et cetera. How has it changed that whole engagement piece, and how much time has it really saved you from a document preparation and delivery perspective?
Yeah, well, I'll answer that in a second. I just wanted to mention, like what you said about working from home and the whole COVID thing. I think one thing that I could say and attest to with Tom and what he's helped us bring to the table is that, we did make these changes to cloud, fully cloud, I think 3 or 4 years ago. And to be honest, COVID was a breeze in a sense of, I had to send people home to work from home. They took their laptops home and they were on board and away we went. There was no change to the way we did things. And I can only imagine how it would have been with having a server and having the people try and bring their bulky desktops and all their stuff home, and then even filing systems and stuff. So yeah, I think we were COVID protected, I think, in that sense. And again, thanks to Tom and the team at Murotech, they're making that happen. It's interesting, yes, the engagement customer experience. Like I said before, we moved majority of our clients. We were sort of big users in the MyOps space. We moved a lot of our clients into the Xero platform and Xero world, and having that real-time experience with the clients meant that they could see the information, we could see the information, and it's the same with the BGL system here with the SF360. It's real live data. It's there, and if it's being processed on a weekly, daily, monthly basis, the information's there, and you can make decisions when you need to. But as far as cost savings and experience, well, like you said, like you touched on the CAS 360 program. Now, we initially only were using the desktop Superfund program, and then obviously when we met Daniel, we talked about the CAS 360, and at the time I wasn't convinced fully because we were using a manual system. We were going onto ASIC website, we were downloading all the annual return information. And again, like you said, preparing all the manual stuff, the minutes, the paperwork, etc., sending it off, manual. And I suppose the reality was, and it's the same concept, right? Learning to trust the cloud, learning to trust technology. You always think that humans going to do a better job. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, these computers are getting smarter and smarter and smarter. And Tom, you can probably attest to that. But we decided to jump into the CAS 360 program. So think of it this way. Initially had no CAS 360 or ASIC program. I was doing it all manually. And then Daniel came to me and said, listen, I want you to try this thing. I'm going to give you the best pricing I can possible, and just try it and see what happens. And we've been using that now for 3 years. To be honest, I can't fault the program. It's got all the bells and whistles attached to it that you need to keep your client up to date, to keep the reminder systems. I love the red, green, and orange, lighting system there. So, the client experience has been that for half the time we've spent on that job, the client's got more from us. They've got the paperwork via email. They've received. We've even implemented a phone call situation where they get a follow-up phone call to say, "Hey, you've got this," even though they've got the email, and then a reminder process system as well. So, yeah, you don't have that issue anymore where clients have missed their payments or they've missed the paperwork. It's all covered. I think. Yeah,
I could just jump in there and say I can attest to that, being a client myself. I get the reminders. I get all of the information on time as a result of that product. So just talking from the other side of the coin there. Sorry, Michele.
You're right, Daniel. Just that slide backwards before this one. Migrate to Simple Fund 360. Yeah, there. So that's what I was saying in relation to this. We always were using Simple Fund Desktop. We made the change and never looked back. And honestly, it's the best program out there. So I can't sing my praises higher enough for it. The CAS Desktop we'd never used. So we went straight to CAS 360, the online platform. And like I said, to put into perspective, the old way would have taken us, our team, probably about 35 minutes to process. On the new way, you're probably looking at about sort of 10 to 15 minutes to process. So, for the cost benefit analysis, it wins every time. There's nothing you can't fault it.
And look, and one of the things, I suppose, from BGL's perspective, and I'm just going to jump to the next slide, and I'm just going to spend a minute speaking on this before you guys take over around what you guys do and what you provide. When it comes to embracing the cloud, the reality that we're all going to face is that when it comes to desktop applications, an end of life is coming.
Yeah.
It's not here yet, but the end of life will happen. And our desire is that we don't have any of our desktop clients feel that, one, they can't, and two, that they need to look absolutely anywhere else for their solution. And the thing is that when I talk about end of life, I know it's a scary term, but there's the benefits the cloud will bring. And, we've been through so many of those benefits as part of this presentation. Like, even we just think about the ASIC process reduced from, say, 30 or 40 minutes to a 15-minute process. And we charge $1, pretty much $1 per company per month, or just a little bit more than that. You effectively make up the time within the first 10 minutes of producing an annual review, right?
Yep.
So there are so many benefits there. And the thing that I'd like to encourage you with is that it's not that hard. You can do it. And the efficiencies that you gain, not only from the products, but then also the efficiencies that many of the integrations bring to you, like things like incorporating companies with many of our document providers, which you can instantly incorporate things and then get the data brought straight into CAS 360, to things like the mobile apps on Simple Fund 360 to be able to connect with your clients. And then we're integrated with the actuary providers, and we're integrated with so many banks and brokers. The real power of the product, of course, the product is amazing from a compliance perspective, but the strength is in the integrations and the way that it's able to draw data and push data out to a number of the service providers that you need to be able to do your work. And one of the things that I really loved about what I've heard in today's conversation is the whole idea of the opportunities it creates. And the only way that you're going to be able to really create opportunity and embrace opportunity is by saving time. And I can assure you that time is something that our cloud-based products will save you and give back to you. And it will allow you to give back to your clients and service your clients in a much more meaningful, relevant, and engaging way. Now, when it comes to the whole piece at BGL, we've got an incredible team that not only will help you, but will also be there to support you. And when moving across the cloud, the desktop to Simple Fund 360 migration is so good that you actually can do most of it yourself. We will obviously give you some guidelines, we'll give you some instructions, and we're always there to support you. But the whole migration piece can be done on its own. With the CAS desktop one, we will do that one for you. But the main thing that you need to be aware of is that it's not a painful process. It's a simple process. And for those of you who are listening that still want to stay on desktop, okay, we're not going to force you. And, I have spoken end of life, but we haven't given an end of life. But what I do encourage you to do is to set up at least your data feeds and your services within your desktop product so that at the time you want to move across to Simple Fund 360, then you've got all your data feeds and everything already set up and going, making the whole process far simpler and far easier to move to cloud, because what will happen is that everything that you've set up will automatically migrate across, and all those services will automatically feed into Simple Fund 360. So the main theme that I want you to take from this is that we've got you covered whichever way you want to go. Now, I'd like to just finish up today with talking about just some of the opportunities that the Muro Group has been able to, or the Muro Group has been able to put forward or to expand on as part of their traditional accounting services. And some of the things that they're more than happy to be involved in or speak to you about is not only the technology transition, but then also the migration transition, and or if you're looking for additional support there too, they've also got the capacity to be able to provide those type of services and assist you as part of their overall offering. So what I'll do, Michele and Tom, just to wrap up here, just share a little about what services this has enabled, technology and some of the developments taking place have enabled you to add to your services, have also been able to allow you to become really good at certain niches or areas which you believe that our clients can benefit from.
All right, Tom, I'll go first. Just, I think what I need to sort of get out there is just first things first. Don't try to bite off too much, okay? When you're making these transitions, because we went through the process, we could have done the whole jump all at once. We could have gone full Xero, full XPM, full BGL, full SharePoint, full cloud. But we decided to take it in steps, because it's a lot of information to take on, and obviously you've got teams and you've got that you need to train and so forth. So you've got to be careful and conscious of, as accountants, yes, we find it a little bit difficult to adapt to change. So doing things in small increments are probably better. I learned the hard way, I suppose, and again, obviously why I'm coming on today and why Daniel asked me to be part of this webinar is that from an accountant's perspective, I understand the program, I understand the system, I understand how it works. And where I sort of had problem, and Tom can attest to this, was when we made those changes to XPM and Xero, we were using these PSP partners, which were basically offered to us to do the migration, so to speak, for us. Now, the problem I had with that was that most of these people were just tech-based and didn't really understand the accounting world, which of course was where the frustration was, because you'd ask for something and then they'd come back with something totally different. It just didn't make sense, and you're going, okay, it must be a better way. So I suppose with us in working with you and working with BGL and working with Tom's business there, we get it. We understand what we need as accountants to get this migration across. And so if I'd have had that 3 years ago with the Xero XPM world, I would have probably had less gray hairs. But I think that's the most important thing for me, dealing with, if you're going to do that migration, dealing with Daniel and his team at BGL, dealing with Tom and his team at Murotech, and if I need to be involved and help out, I give my all and my time to help people to get across the line, because ultimately we're all in this together. We're not here to compete against each other. That's far from the truth. We all get together and collaborate and work well. And I would say that for those firms that most of them hopefully today listening are using the desktop or using some sort of software. If you're not using any sort of software and you're not providing super fund work to your clients, I would even go another step and say, well, you're missing out. And that's where I suppose the capacity to provide super fund admin and audit is where we can help as well. So we do have obviously a big enough team to provide that. We have been doing it to other firms in Sydney and Melbourne. And, it's just ultimately the win-win situation. You keep your client happy, the client gets the super fund work done, an audit, and you move on. So that's my 2 cents worth, Daniel. There, Tom, I'm not sure.
No, I just
Yeah.
want to jump in for a sec, because just another question from Pamela. And then just jump into yours, Tom, which Pamela just said there's a lot of SMSF with, elderly members, trustees who still like paper and snail mailing. There's no issue keeping the status quo for these people. Absolutely not, right? So what the technology allows you to do is that, obviously, if you can push it out and push out the documentation and the correspondence electronically, perfect. If you can't, then there's always the option to print things out and to put them in the mail and to send those through. So the thing is that the technology gives you the capacity to operate at whatever client level your clients are at. But in saying that too, I know that, it was quite interesting. My uncle, who passed away sadly last year, was 94 or 96. He learnt an iPad in his late 80s, right? So, and I'd sit in there, I'd go to his farm, and he'd be sitting at the table, and he'd be looking up, stories or history about Sicily, because that's where he was from. And I'd walk in and say, "What are you doing, Uncle?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm just researching on Italy because I want to learn more. I want to find out more of all these types of things." So while there is a number of, like Aldi, I understand there's lots of people that still want things on paper, there is this emerging trend of them being more open to technology, and the simpler we can make it for them, the better. But absolutely, if they want to still deal in traditional ways, great technology will allow you to do that. And that's a really important consideration when it comes to making any decision.
Yeah,
I think
just on.
Sorry, Tom. One of the things we did, and we had the similar sort of issue with some elderly clients. We actually recorded a video on how to do it and sent them the video. So after they watched the video, they could see what the process was.
Were you the star of the show?
Sorry?
Were you the star of the show?
No, I wasn't. I got a stand in, but
well, that's why they opened it.
there you go. Sorry to cut in, Tom.
I was just going to say, Daniel, you touched on, the cloud gives you the ability to do those integrations, and that BGL has, open APIs that you can integrate with all your different software packages. And that's another key piece to deciding which tech stack you want to go for. And you could, even go so far as to build reports or build iPad apps which then integrate and pull down data for your clients. If that's that's the future that's there, that's available to be able to be tapped into once you move and transition to these cloud products. From a Murotech point of view, we would love to help. We've done this journey obviously with Michele and Muro. We can help to look at your current tech stack, examine it, and see which way you need to move. Not just BGL, but and the Superfund 360, but all of your tech stack as well. That's part of the services that we provide. We can then take you through that implementation as well, and help you through the migration, because as Daniel said, and as I said, from the BGL side, the migration for that part is quite straightforward and streamlined. But some people do still want someone there that they can call for help if something goes awry. So we're happy to help out in that capacity, in any capacity that we can in that regard. So and thanks Daniel for having us on and give us the opportunity to talk to these potential clients.
Yeah, look, and we're going to wrap things up because we've come to the end. But look, just on behalf of BGL, we're going to record parts of this, and we've recorded it, and we're going to add bits of this to our proposition insofar as clients wanting to move from desktop to cloud, and just some of the things that they need to consider. And so we'll have the resources available. We'll have whatever we record and compile in a nice way for people to be able to go back and loop back on things. But on behalf of BGL, I'd just like to thank both Michele and Tom for sharing their journey with us. And I hope that they've been able to provide some really good insights and details, not only about the benefits they've gained, but then also how they've been able to grow their businesses and their clients through this. And technology has been a great enabler for them. And the other thing that that we take out of this too is that some of these opportunities that they've created in the additional services that they can provide I'm sure that they would love to hear from you, and they'd love to be able to talk with you. And they are more than happy to extend a hand and the advice that you maybe need or looking for. And I've known that Michele especially and his partner Carnio, and I can't not do this presentation without mentioning his partner because he'd get upset with me. But they've been tremendous supporters and they're tremendous people. And the thing is that I love putting in front of our clients accounting firms that have succeeded through doing the hard yards and doing their own research and putting their heart and soul into things. So on behalf of BGL, thank you. And I really appreciate what you've done and what you continue to do. And I really am grateful for everything you do for our industry. And, you know, I look forward to the day that we can get together. I'm still going to come and visit your office. I'm going to come and visit your kitchen and you're going to cook me that steak. And it's going to be great to be able to do that over a glass of wine with you, Michele and Carnio, and the team. And thank you for all that you bring to us. And if people have any questions, please do hang back. Let us know. If you'd like to get in touch with Michele or Tom, just please let us know. And we've definitely put you in touch with them, and we're more than happy to do that because they come highly recommended.
And Daniel, this is not a paid presentation, right?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Never has been, never will be. And if you wanted it, then it wouldn't happen.
All right, well, listen, stay safe. I know you're down there in sunny Victoria with all that's going on. So, yeah, wish you all the best, you know, speedy recovery with things down there. And
thank you.
yeah, look on the positive side, mate. It's, yeah, there's always a brighter day. Look to the future. You know, don't get caught up in it. I know, and it's hard. I know. But again, yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for bringing us on today. Really appreciate it.
No worries. And
thank you all the listeners out there. Hopefully you gained something from that.
Yeah, thanks very much.
No worries. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.